Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding NCL. I'm your host Tony and I hope you've had an amazing week and you're looking forward to a session with me and then a lovely weekend. It's Next.js NCL today too because we'll be keeping on with the brand new and free Next.js course all about the new app router, relatively new. It was there a lot in Next.js 13 but now it's all Next.js 14. This course is supposed to highlight all the great new cool Next.js 14 features, how you're supposed to write apps with Next.js nowadays in the modern era. We've done 2 live streams already. This is the third one, third time's the charm. We went through most of the course in the first live stream, then a lot of the course on the second one, but stumbled a little bit in the authorization part. So now we're gonna do that part again because I know that almost every app needs authorization and authentication, and a lot of people are interested in how to do it correctly. So let's see how we'll manage today. What we're building is the Acme dashboard project, lovingly provided by Vercel. You can see this is deployed. So after the stream, I did debug what we needed to do to actually get the auth working. And indeed, it does work. Amazing. You can see the skeleton UI, you can see that our password is terrible, but that's what we were building in the previous 2 live streams. We're gonna make it into even better today, and you can see the skeleton UI kind of flashing in, even in real life deployment, even in production. This is super fast. If you want to see a real app that is using Next.js 14, check out my site. It's cool. It has a few of my favorite videos and highlights from the comments. Leave a comment if you've liked. I've never actively said leave a comment, leave a nice comment and I may highlight you in my site, but somehow it happened to have like tons of them and I'm always humbled when I read them. Even has dark mode, even though I'm a dark mode person, dark theme person, and therefore this site is best designed to be seen on dark mode. Anyway, tangents already. We will be going through the Next.js Learn course. We've went through all of this up to the authentication part, which we're gonna kind of restart, redo properly and finish all the way, which we didn't, and then do the metadata part, and then do a few more bonuses because I have opinions and I have things that should be in every production app. So we're gonna add them in the end. And we are gonna revisit chapter 6 because that has something that is related to authentication that may give you trouble. It is bringing in bcrypt as a dependency, which maybe if you're using band or maybe like if there's something weird going on with your Mac session or something, it's not going to work. So we'll see if it's going to work for me. This time they have updated the script a little bit, but I don't think that's going to help anything, but we'll see what we'll do in the end to make the seeding of our database work, because we have a way to hash the user password there, and we're gonna need it again for the authentication part. So let's make sure that we have all the auth done correctly in this episode of Live Coding NCL. So with that, I will switch to the full desktop view, and I'm in the corner of your screen, so you can keep looking at me as I'm puzzled and stroke my beard. But we have gone over the first item. We've went through the overview. I still think the coolest bit we've done is the skeleton UI and the streaming of React components after the initial hairdressing. But today we'll start with the database seeding and the bcrypt problems. So the course is telling us that we can run the script that they've prepared for us. Which is located in scripts seed.js. It starts as a JavaScript file, not a TypeScript file. So let's try to run that and see what happens. Can't find this one either. We did change where our stuff lives. So source directory, try to run it. It's gonna crash, can't find bcrypt, but that's intended. They are telling us even here to install bcrypt as a dependency here. Ban is less keen to run post-install scripts than most bundlers, as in it only runs your own app's post-install script and not your dependencies post-install scripts, nor your dependencies not install post-install scripts. But just in case this is what we've been missing, I'm gonna say, please do allow bcrypt to run its own post-install script. Maybe that's gonna make a difference, maybe not. Let's ban install again. Should have brought in bcrypt, and yet it cannot find it yet again. So I do think what we'll need to do is to bring in a bcrypt alternative from the internet. I have brought in some helpers where you can encrypt your own password using the crypto library that is available on Node and on its runtime. So maybe have a look at that. But I know that some people may have posts that say, no, you need to use bcrypt. That's what you need to do when you need to hash passwords. So let's try to resolve it like that. Ban does have a known issue with bcrypt and other libraries that they use things like NotGip to make their binaries available. Is the short version of what's happening. But in here, a helpful person is suggesting that there is a Rust version of bcrypt that we can try to bring in, and it's going to be a one-to-one replacement. So let's also add this in our trusted dependencies. Or instead, I should say. Bring it in. And let's retry the seed script. But of course, we need to say to the seed script, try to bring in bcrypt from there, from the library which is installed. Looks like it will work. Great, great news. So that should get us going. Just on the project dashboard, I will drop every table. So that's invoices, revenue, customers, users. No tables, seed. And if we refresh, they're there. All right, so seed script works. You can go through that chapter. If you happen to have some weird problems with the bcrypt executable, you can now be unstuck. So we have done this chapter. Let's go down a trip down memory lane and see what else we've done. We fetch data, bread and butter of web dev. Fetching the data is the bread. Rendering it is the butter. Partial pre-rendering we did talk about, and it's exciting, but we didn't actually do it. Mutating data, also essential. Almost essential. Error handling, accessibility for sure, and we're gonna do more on accessibility. So now with our seeded database and our ability to use bcrypt, let's go to the authentication chapter, which starts with the categorization of what is authentication and what is authorization, besides words that are kind of hard to pronounce. I just say auth all the time. And then you, in your own mind, you pick the correct one that I should be talking about. But there is a quiz here we did last time. Which of the following best describes the difference between authentication and authorization? So authentication verifies your identity. Authorization determines what you can access. So I guess authentication happens like once in an app. so long as you don't finish your session or cookies expire and that sort of thing. But authorization may happen every time to see, can you see this page? Can you add the record? Can you do this? Can you do that? That is indeed correct. We have 100% on answering things so far, thankfully. And what they want us to do is add the login route. As a reminder, currently on the non-deployed version of the website, you can see the dashboard, but we're going to block access until you're logged in. And if you click login here, you got nothing. We haven't created this page. We haven't created this route. The way you do routes in Next.js, you go into your app directory, and that should reflect your paths. So we're going to create login / page of tsx. Page is a magic name in Next.js land. And that's exactly what they want us to create and paste in this. And we need to change where the UI files are. They're right here. So great. Now we see the login page. Login form we'll use later. And next, we will be using Next.js for the authentication part. That also had a problem that we found off screen, where we needed the next auth URL to be set. In here, I think they've added this where you need to set your auth URL. So maybe it's looking for both the next auth library. But yeah, let's try again to add this as a dependency. Next auth bcrypt we tried to add previously, didn't quite work. So we're going with a Rust version of bcrypt, which should be faster. We have created this key on the seed chapter, on the database chapter before, so we don't need to do it again. This is available. I have deployed it to production as well. So now they want us to create an auth config ts. At the root of our project, it says which I think means the source directory in our case. So we're gonna make an auth config ts and export this. And I guess this we need to type. I think they got me last time. They want an empty credentials property here, empty providers here, which they haven't added in the thing. They told me to copy paste. But maybe that's because I will copy paste even harder. Ah, yeah, and they're doing the satisfies way to match this. I have a déjà vu from the previous live stream. Right, so we're telling Next.auth, don't use any providers. We're going to use a provider later. And our sign-in page is the /login route. I guess when you're not authorized, you get redirected here. And the check for whether you're authorized is only if you're on the dashboard page. We know whether you're logged in if in this auth object there is a user. If we're on the dashboard page, then we check whether we're logged in and then return true. You can stay there, or else return false and it goes back to the login page. We specified here. So we can literally just return it's logged in. Here it's maybe a bit clearer. Else, if we're not on the dashboard and we are logged in, we're forcefully redirecting them to the /dashboard, which is what Vercel likes to do. I suppose if you're logged in, you see all your projects. You cannot see the marketing page ever again unless you log out. I guess we'll do that. We'll respect that. But if we're not on the dashboard, we just return true all the time. So we could nest this a bit less if we had like an early out to return true if we're not on the dashboard. But it doesn't matter that much unless you hate nesting. So we've done that, and I believe we do understand it. And then we'll create a middleware file, which should be in the source directory if you are using a source directory, or in literally the root of your project. So here, if you're not using a source directory, but we are. So I'm gonna add it here, paste in what I want. And then it says only match these files, I suppose. And now I would have expected to be kicked out of this dashboard page since we're not logged in. But hey. So now they're explaining that we need to use bcrypt, which is a Node API, which is not available in Next.js middleware. And we create a separate file. So my solution would be don't use bcrypt and use something that is available as in middleware, which includes the crypto library, I believe. So that would have been less confusing and fine and dandy. But I'm gonna respect what these devs are saying. Must have a reason. Because now we need to bring in the auth config from here and reuse it, but also add something that's gonna need bcrypt. So we're gonna bring in the credentials provider for this. Which Next.auth says we don't have many docs on this intentionally because we don't want you to be using the credentials provider because that's insecure. Don't have your users use passwords, use magic links, which I do agree with. But again, you'll have like a project manager or boss or someone who's going to be like, I want email and password. I want to be able to log in with email and password. No magic links, no providers, no, none of that. And they do say it here as well. I guess it's just easier to email and password form. I've seen other tutorials and courses that just go for the GitHub option or the Google option, which is also quite popular. GitHub is very easy to get a credential for, and if you're a developer, you are probably using GitHub anyway, so you'll be able to create your API key and stuff. So GitHub is a popular option here for courses and demos. Anyway, we'll bring in our validator library, payload validator library, and we're gonna do some stuff. Gonna expand credentials provider. And this one is upset, but we are not done yet. They're just telling us to copy and paste things slowly. So we are creating a method called authorize, that's a magic Next.auth method. Next.auth will pass the credentials to this method, and then you decide whether the credentials are matching or not. So we're going to bring in bcrypt from rs bcrypt, and everything else should stay the same. So later in this auth method, we're going to say if these are indeed like email and password, then get the user, which is a new method they're creating. So let's paste in here. The user we can get from here. And the SQL helper from @Vercel Postgres. And that should get us the user from a database, which includes their hashed password. I guess you shouldn't be selecting star, like just their password, I suppose. Or email and password. So if the pass conditions are not success, we return null anyway. But the interesting bit is that we check whether the password matches, the given password matches the one we have in the database here. And now we're finally going to use bcrypt and we're going to try to match. And that should be it for the Auth stuff. I'm gonna restart the server and see if now do I get kicked out of this route. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, so that worries me. Does the middleware run? It does run. Do I have any remaining cookies here? Maybe I do. Aha. Yeah, so that was the problem. All right, so we get kicked out of dashboard route. We go to the login route. Perfect. Everything's going swimmingly so far. So what do they want us to do next? They want us to update the login form. And we're gonna create a new action. So they want us to add the action to our single actions file, but I disagree. I'd rather collocate those things. So I'd want to collocate this to the login route. So I'm gonna create an action.ts or actions.ts here. And remember to explicitly say use server here. And then paste in the stuff they actually want me to paste in. If someone else is like me, I would add the use server here because it is important. Things will not work if we don't specify use server here. And last time, right after the stream, some missing files that I noted, the favicon and the OpenGraph image, were added, merged to the Next.Learn dashboard project. Coincidence? Probably. But if not, thank you for watching. So we are creating this authenticate action, which takes the previous state, which is a magic thing used when you use one of the React hooks, and then the form data, which is the form data of the form you're submitting. And then we are using the sign-in method from that auth file we were creating before, using the sign-ins, passing these credentials. I guess after this is where the Zode library is going to check whether we passed in the correct thing. If there's an error, and specifically the credential sign-in error, then it returns credential sign-in, I guess, and you can show different UI, like invalid credentials or something. Or else, if it's an unknown, unexpected error, I guess you throw it. You throw it again. All right. So now we go to our login form here, and we want to use form state. the magic thing we were talking about, and pass it our authenticate action. And in order to use hooks in React components, they need to be client components. So we need to add use client, we see here. And then they want us to pass the action to our form. Ooh, our weird bcrypt thingy is making some errors. Interesting. And they're trying to bring in a weird version of that library we brought. Does it fail just on this page? Alright, my solution bcrypt library doesn't seem to be working. And the problem is here, I imagine, if I just return true. Yeah, so that bcrypt library doesn't quite work. And the moment we're bringing in this action, which is bringing in the sign-in method from Auth, which is the file that brings in bcrypt, it fails. All right. So to resolve this, I am gonna fall back to my crypto methods that I got from the internet. I guess we get everything, even the library we got from the internet. And I do have the source code available, second description for this project, and the Stack Overflow where I stole this from. Stack Overflow, don't use it for everything and don't use it without understanding what is happening, but can still be helpful in 2023. Rarely, but it can. So we only expose a hash password and a match password method. We're going to hash the password whenever we create a new user, which includes the seed file, and then we're going to match password as we did with bcrypt. So I guess let's go to the seed file. We can turn this into TypeScript as well. Oof, what's the client going to be? Is that why they were afraid to use TypeScript? Is it a different client? Vercel pool client. The Vercel pool. Well, that sounds amazing. Vercel pool client. We don't use that. disconnect. Release. Sure. Sounds correct. Does nothing. What else can we do? Release does look correct. Alright, and where we're doing bcrypt, we're actually gonna just as password. We made this method before. Doesn't need to await it. So the question once again is, does our seeding script run? Yeah. And we should have two of the same user. Oh, it worked. I was wondering if that release thing was making things break. We're gonna rerun it in just a moment, but let's see, let's verify whether this has fixed anything. So on Auth.js, instead of using bcrypt, we're gonna match password. And it's a synchronous method even. So we can just return it. Oh, no. If match password. Then return the user. Yeah, this benefits from curlies, I'd say. All right, so now our app doesn't break anymore. It's always great news. Always great news. Gonna go to the login screen, it still doesn't break. And we can just remove this. And this. Don't be bcrypt. Cool. And one more time, I'm gonna drop a million tables. Okay, one by one. Did it just do the one? It worked. I don't know why it said it didn't. So let's try the seed again. Looks like it will still work. It seems like it exits slower than last time, but hey. Tables are back. Everything's awesome. Back to the course. So now we're feeding this action to the login form, and they want us to also show an error if we have invalid credentials. So login form here, here, bring in this exclamation circle icon from, where do they want it? From outline. So I can't see where it's bringing it in. From outline, great. So now, oh, and they do some stuff here too. Have a login button in the same place. I do firmly believe you should only have one component per file, like very small edge cases, but I'd say if you have to have one rule, like should it be allowed, let's say, one React component per file. Yes, the thinking is that only this page uses the login button, but not thrilled. Anyway, they're not telling us to try this out. Interesting. I will try it out with incorrect credentials. All right, so not being able to log in works. That's something. And they want us to add the logout functionality. So they want us to go into the side nav. Because if you remember, it was the side nav that had that power button. That usually means logout. Sign out from @auth. Inline action for this one, I guess. And we should be all good. All right. Did we make it work? Not quite. Can resolve crypto? Did you mean crypto? I was just saying that this should work on Node. Am I saying use ends? All right, not its runtime. Let's see. All right, interesting. So the Edge runtime doesn't have access to crypto? I guess not. All right, it seems like we're working. There you saw before was because on my layout function I had said make this run on Edge runtime. Every page run on Edge runtime. And I guess crypto is not available on the Edge runtime. News to me. Which is not great. One of the big selling points of Vercel is deploying on the edge and the lightweight edge runtime. So I thought that all the middleware at least runs on the edge runtime. We'll figure it out eventually, but for now, this works. Completed chapter 15. Woohoo! Did we actually log out? We didn't. Press the power button. Immediate logout. Great. So we can try this again. Amazing. All good. Nothing fun for the custom space. But everything else looks nice. Cool. We did this. We just did this. One magical submit button to rule them all. Maybe we'll do this before chapter 16 then. So what is happening in the login form? It's using the pending forward status to be able to disable the button. But it'd be nice to have like a loading spinner or something, which we should do later. First, let's commit. And login, logout. So I'll keep spamming the login logout. So this gets disabled and becomes gray, which is nice, I guess. But it'd be nice to have like a loading spinner. People love loading spinners. I love loading spinners. And interestingly, I guess the button styles is it's ARIA disabled, and then it applies the not allowed stuff. But I'd imagine that disabled also makes it ARIA disabled, so why not do it like that? Alright, so it looks correct. It'd be nice to have a loading spinner, as I said before, and we have like more buttons, like the delete button there, and the edit invoice button here, which don't visually change. So what if we had one magic button that is able to change its disabled state? And then we just reuse that everywhere instead of bringing in the same thing over and over again. And they're doing the same thing where they're saying this button is of type submit, even though you don't need to. So let's create a submit button, which would actually be like the login button. So let's take inspiration from that. Don't know where to put it because they have like too many directories. I would just put it in like UI. Oh, login button. This I created this last time. Forget this ever happened. But yeah, at the root of the UI directory, I'm gonna have a submit button. Yes, thanks. It's gonna be bringing in the regular button and form status, which means that it has to be a client component, and then it would render its children. You don't need to do like anything else here. And children type props children React node. Yeah, it's globally available in Next.js. And export it. Take this from the props. So now in the login form, we can say the login button. It's a submit button. And you don't need to pass anything more besides the children. Don't need to do the extra login stuff. So if we look out, log in again, you can see that it works the same, but the exciting thing is we'll try to copy this functionality when it comes to the edit invoice as well. We'll make this a submit button. Will this actually work? Thanks. So maybe we can allow the submit button to take class name. And let's support this one. Or maybe not actually. Don't have any classes on its own. And class name is going to be a string. Classes are a string, are strings. So now, if I try to edit the invoice, we get a disabled and you can't action state for free. We don't need to implement it in other places. And we could do the same with the delete button and all of that. But the way to make it a bit more exciting will be in the end when we add a loading spinner. And here, in our login form, what classes did we have? Empty4 and wfull. I think it looks all right. Yeah, so the point is you can have one clever button client component which uses the use form status hook, which is brand new React in the Canary React release. And then it knows to make itself disabled or later on show a loading spinner, which is more exciting. And you just do this once and you don't have to keep track of what the form state is and pass it to the component in every single form in your app you have. You just have this one place where you do this one thing, one weird trick, and you're good to go. So create invoice as well. Instead of bringing in the button, you can bring in the submit button. And magically, it will have the loading spinner disabled functionality, which you want. If you notice that, oh, they can click this button, they can spam this button and click it 10 times while it submits, and that's bad, then you just fix it in the one place and you don't have to look for every form in your app to fix it there. The complaints were that class names should be optional. Some things can just do this. Big invoice. Perfect. Works as intended. I think these are the obvious places where we can submit things, so that's all for now. End of the refactor. All right. So chapter 16, adding metadata, exciting stuff. Last chapter. 94% done. So metadata is crucial for SEO and shareability, which is a huge point that I make, that nowadays people share stuff on Twitter, they share stuff on Discord. And when they share links that don't have a nice open graph image, then sure, people are gonna click it. Just as important as SEO nowadays is having eye-catching images for your websites, because people share stuff, and when they share their WhatsApp and the other person sees something cool, they're more likely to click on it and convert. So do this well. That's one of the huge advantages with Next.js, the open graph image generation, which I'm not sure if we're going to do here. I think they'll just, well, I'm not sure. Let's read. They do talk about metadata playing a significant role in enhancing web pages. SEO, they say Open Graph improves the appearance of shared links on social media, which is what I was talking about, making the content more appealing and informative for users. The types of metadata, they're talking about the title, they're talking about the description, talking about the keywords, which I thought was bad nowadays. Like if you see an SEO expert, the reality is there is no SEO experts, because nobody really knows how Google is ranking things. People have opinions and they have observed some results, but on keywords, for example, that's one of those places where, because people were abusing the system, I think Google started penalizing people having keywords in their websites, because people were adding keywords as white text on white background, that sort of thing. But maybe nowadays they're making a comeback and you can Google thinks we can responsibly use them. Anyway, Open Graph metadata, another big thing that I wanted to be automated instead of handcrafting all of these tags. Favicon metadata, well, good news, Next.js does have a metadata API that can generate all of these things for you more easily. You can specify some JavaScript things, and then it creates all the HTML things needed for all of this to work correctly. For every browser, for every platform, that sort of thing. And what they've done is they've included favicon and Open Graph image PNG in the public directory. The favicon in the public directory will show up as the favicon of the website, so you can see it here. But Next.js will do even more magic if you add it into your app directory. And I think most browsers will not even randomly look for Open Graph image PNG, but Next.js will make it so if you add it here in your app directory again, it will add the needed tags for this to work. So if we inspect this, maybe I'll do it in the other window. Oh, we need to log in again. Looking on this instance as well. And we can inspect the page. Now the letters are small here, so apologies. But in the head, just from having the one Open Graph image, Next.js has added like 9 tags for Facebook, the standard Open Graph format, and some especially for Twitter, which will never change to X in this regard. And they've created versions of this image that are cast, so they have like a hash in the end, so you can bust it if you change it. But it doesn't actually work. Oh, this should be opening the image. Interesting. Incognito window. Interesting. So I guess it will work. It seems like if you're logged out, even when you're trying to request, if you're logged in, even when you're trying to request the image, it's gonna get you to the dashboard. It won't let you do it, which is kind of funny, actually. Did we do something wrong? So in this middleware, we're specifying what to match, and it is, I guess it's saying to also match images, but it has like the no thing here. So I'm not sure. I think this needs no, right? This still works, and if I try in the non-incognito window, I get redirected. Oh well, so I'm not gonna change this for fear of what it's actually gonna be doing. But it looks like I cannot go to this image if I'm logged in. This may be fine. This is probably not fine. Some people want to save images or go to this image directly. But I guess in more real user scenarios, people won't do that. And then when you share on Discord, Discord is gonna fetch that image for you, and Discord is not gonna be authenticated. So it should be fine. But I suspect that there is something wrong with this matter. Oh well. And now they're saying, let's add a custom title. The custom titles are cool. So now we don't have any title, I guess. And they're telling us to go to the invoices page. And for each page, we can export specific metadata by exporting the metadata const. So now we save. Editor's having trouble saving this. Don't know why. You can do it. It did it. And you can kind of see here that now it's invoices admin dashboard, what we've put in here. But there is an easy way to do this. We can go to our core layout and specify all the generic metadata that we want. So we want to say that anywhere in our app, there are no overrides to these properties. We want the description to be this. We want the metadata base to be this, which is quite interesting. I guess that's where we deploy the site, which is not correct. I do a different thing in my apps. But let's hard code something here. So apparently where we're deploying this is this. So let's add it here for now. Did they have the trailing slash? No. And for the title, that's a special case where instead of just a string, it's an object, and you can provide a template where you specify the default is going to be this. You're just going to show this, but usually you're going to show the title you're given and then pipe does whatever you want. This doesn't have to be a pipe, although people usually do a pipe. Nowadays it's kind of seen as standard, so I'm going to keep it, but you can change it. There's nothing magic with this. The string substitution here is the magic that makes the title provided in different pages be injected right here. So now you can notice that on an invoices page, we're saying invoices, admin dashboard, because what we're given is too much. Now we can just specify on this page, we want to be the invoices thing, and then it's gonna show what we wanted, which is great. Because again, it means that if you change your mind and you do want to add like a rocket ship here or whatever, you just need to change it in the one place. You don't have to go to every single one of your pages and change the format of your title. You just change it here in the one place and everything else will automatically align to your wishes, which is awesome. And oh no, we're almost done. They're saying add metadata. Of course, usually when people have app functionality and their login, they don't bother that much with metadata because they think, oh, it's only for SEO and stuff. but I do think it's good practice to have them. And definitely titles, like your users are going to see the titles. They're going to notice those things. So make it nice for them. All right, so they want us to add some metadata for the login page. So let's do it. And you can add a description. This one will be public facing. Just would have a writer to make sure that makes sure to hit all your keywords in the correct way. Will this be the sufficient length? But we're not going to do that on the stream. It'll be too boring. They want us to do the dashboard page. So we could add something on like the layout page as well. Did I do the incorrect layout? Maybe. Oh yeah. What a guy I am. So it's on this layout. What is the root layout? Almost failed at the last one. Alright, so on the dashboard page, on this one, overview. They want us to do the customers page. This doesn't have anything too exciting. Going for it. Invoices create. This does do quite a lot of exciting stuff. And invoices edit. And this is quite fun. We could use the generate metadata method to dynamically show the invoice name or the ID or even the customer associated with the invoice or the price, anything you want. That's quite cool. So edit an invoice. I'm not going to do any of that. They don't mention the generate metadata. Ah, they do. There you go. Mentioned earlier on, but I think right in the end, it would be cool to tell them that you can have dynamic titles based on the records on the invoices you have on the page. Let's talk about the keywords, the robots, canonical URLs, and all of that. All good, but I think this means we can finish the course. Wow. Wow. Anything else we'd like to show? I guess not. So let's complete chapter 16. Cool. We can click the button. Congratulations, we've completed the Next.js dashboard course. where we've learned about the main features of Next.js and best practices for building web applications. For sure, metadata and skeleton UIs like streaming components were the top features for me. And overall, I did enjoy the course. It's a statistical way to go about it. Personally, I don't like having so many sections where you uncomment some code or you copy and paste code, but I understand that it's definitely one effective way to learn, to just see things moving, to see the progress. You get more encouraged if you can have so many nice things like the skeleton UI showing up on the page. At the same time, it's easier to commit stuff to memory when you actually have to type out things, but then maybe you make a mistake typing it out, some things are erroring out, you can't figure it out, you drop out of the course. That's bad. So not dissing out the approach. Here, they definitely talk a lot about many important things. The theory was quite fantastic, actually. So yeah, good stuff. Oh, and there is a Vercel YouTube, so subscribe. With my main, with my main account. And Next.js app. Oh, Seriton X on Twitter. As on team. Interesting. Well, I should make it cooler before sharing. But yeah, I guess that's it. 100% completed. All right, stream will keep going because we have bonuses. And core bonus, Playwright setup, have end-to-end testing. The key to deploying with confidence, the key to having any app in production is being assured that whenever you need to make a change, and you'll need to make a change, you need to roll with the punches, because you'll change your mind, or your PM or client will change their mind. If you don't have tests, automated tests, and you have to manually check every page works, that's going to be demoralized. That's going to make you less likely to change things. That will make you fear deploying on Fridays and that sort of thing. Well, if you have meaningful tests, which can be done nowadays, we have the technology, then you're fearless and the clients compliment you for getting on top of things so quickly. So we'll set up Playwright, my favorite browser-based testing solution at the moment, and a navigation smoke test, my essential test that I have in all my apps, and every time it gives me tips on how to improve them for accessibility as well. So yeah, let me know if you have any other thoughts in the comments, but that's what we'll be doing next. We'll even have it running against our Vercel deployment, which I've only switched to doing very recently because it used to be hard. Now it's easy. Then we'll add analytics with Vercel Analytics, again for a real app, knowing if people hit your website, how long they stay, which pages they visit. Essential to have analytics. And then we may even get into bringing in SVGs as React components and have a nice loading spinner in the code, because that's trickier than it should be with Next.js. And then, if we even have that much time, we're already over an hour in, we may use our DB with Prisma instead, which is a cool framework. If we're not using something like Supabase and we are connecting to a different database like we are in this project, then Prisma, some type of ORM style thing that helps you run your database queries with confidence, and your migrations is essential. You can't do everything, just raw coding SQL. That'd be a bit much. All right, then, Playwright. Interesting. Ban create Playwright. Let's have them in the test directory, add the GitHub Actions workflow, add the Playwright browsers, happy hacking. Bringing in Playwright made Next.js flip out for some reason, but it's back. Interesting. bring in your test runner and break your app. So let's ignore some Playwright files. It's adding a package log for no reason. I guess it thought we're using npm. And it added the Playwright test dependency. Not Playwright itself, interestingly enough. So we're gonna, maybe that's why the dev server flipped out, because npm was introduced while we were using bun. Okay, everything still works. We got a Playwright config and a Playwright YAML. The first thing I do is add the A on YAML. Like, it works either way, but I prefer consistency and I prefer YAML, because that's how I pronounce it, I guess. And we got an example spec and a huge spec with everything. We're gonna delete the huge test with everything and check out our Playwright config. It tells us we may need to bring in .env config here, and we will not be doing that. Even so, we are using bun in this project, so it would be automatically getting our environment variables. It's specifying that our test directory is tests, run on parallel. Retry a few times if you're on CI. Flaky tests are bad. Don't use the HTML reporter. I don't like it. Base URL, we need to specify that. But for now, we're gonna say that it's localhost 3000. And run on Chromium, run on Firefox, and usually I say don't run on Safari WebKit. Run on mobile Safari, like iPhone 14. That way you get the mobile surface area covered as well. And we start the server with plan run dev. Oh, and that's for URL. Interesting. So in other projects, let's see what I usually do. Specify a port, and I have the base URL set, so it will figure it out. And I say to use the server if it's there. Just do it. Cool. I think there is one more thing that I like adding in this simple config. It's a launch options for slow-mo, because Playwright runs so fast that sometimes it's hard to see what went wrong, whether there is a test failure. So I like adding these launch options, which I don't have a comment for, sadly, even though they document things so well. And I do say retain the videos on failure, so I can play it back and see what went wrong. I think that's quite useful. I think those are the big differences for now. We'll look at the GitHub Action in just a moment. First, we're gonna have a test. We're gonna have a navigation smoke test. So since we've specified that root directory, you don't need to go anywhere. And we're just gonna test that our main route plays, and then we're gonna click like every link. But interestingly enough, we're gonna have auth problems. So that's a big reason that people avoid using end-to-end test runners, because they hate dealing with auth. But we'll make it work for this project. So there is still value to be had in this stream. Stick with me. So if you go to the root, then the title should be Acme Dashboard. And if you click to login, you should see login. but we'll do that later. Let's confirm that this works. So I do have the Playwright extension here. So if I go navigation and press, oh, port is in use. It did try to start the server. Why? Oh, because the port, I told them to listen for a different port. For the viewport, because I do Velvet quite a lot. Now this will wait forever. Just wanted to stop. No. Crash, stop, kill. All right, timed out. We can try again. It's going to be faster. So we see that it passed. It went to the homepage, has this title, everyone's happy. So now what I want Playwright to do is to confirm that we have a login button that's important for your app, and you can make it to the login page. And you can even click the login button. How do I find the login button? There are locators. Page locator or get by role. I love using get by role selectors because that's the thing that can increase the accessibility of your app. If you use semantic HTML, then your site will automatically be more accessible using screen readers and that sort of thing. So get by role link, and the name is going to be login, or is it login? It's login. So I want that link to exist, and I want to click it. And after that happens, I want the page to have a title containing login. Which should fail because the title is actually log in one word, not log in. Eventually it's going to fail. Indeed, it tells me this, couldn't find this. We found a few different things and captured a video that we can watch later. Here we can do this, and then if we rerun the tests, it just works. But check this out as well. Happened here, not sure. What I want for SEO and accessibility purposes, it should be that there is a heading, an H1 heading, a big heading, first priority heading in the page. So we can check for that. Page, get by role, heading, and we want a level 1 heading with the name Acme. And we want that to be visible. And it will not be true because indeed on our website we don't have a proper heading for this. We have like a welcome to Acme and stuff, but there should be an H1 somewhere. And that's something that's like on every project. I use these selectors and I find that, oh, I forgot an H1 in this page, or there are too many H1s, or there are no H2s. This is huge. This is a big tip here. The dashboard does have an H1, it seems. And The login form has an H1, which is cool. Please log in to continue. But our main page has not. So I guess this one should have one. We could have it be part of the logo or the navigation. It feels that this should be the H1 in this case. Super specialized class. Where do we use the Acme logo? We do use it in a few places. So let's do it here. Let's say that this is an H1. You should be able to know what H1 is. And let's double check, like it's this part. So let's say that this is an H1. And now our tests should be passing again. And they do. And do we have a header that says login here? Let's copy this one actually. So our H1 header here should say login because it's the login page. We run the test again. They pass. Because I guess this page doesn't have this logo. I would have expected this to tell me that it has like 2 elements with H1, which you shouldn't do. But it didn't say anything. Let's see. Let's add a script for running these tests. We'll call it test. We could call it like test E2E if you have like node-based tests as well, but let's just do test for now. Just gonna do Playwright test. So if we run our test here, looks like it works. I'll be damned. However, I know that this is bad. Should I give it a chance and see if it fails in a different test? Because even here on this page, we have like the dashboard page, the dashboard header, and there should be only one. Is there like a single? You could manually be checking, like, is there just one? I think Lighthouse or some of. Hello, Null. Null, what a name for a coding channel. Amazing, love it. Center align this. You're thinking? Yeah, on mobile for sure, I think it would be better design if it was center aligned. Though their designs do have it like on the left, like this. But we can fix it for sure. What I really want to do is test that we can actually log in and make it to the dashboard. But then we mess around with authentication, which can be tricky, but can be done. So if we go to Playwright, they do have a section on authentication. And sometimes if you don't offer email and password authentication, which probably you shouldn't, you should just have people logging in with providers or with magic links. You can literally go to the login page and log in. So let's create this auth setup file. Setup.ts. And copy everything we have here. And we want to straight go to the login route. And then we want to get the email field. And for now, we are going to use the only user we have, and then we'll make it more complicated. We know that the password is this. We know that we want to sign in. So email, password, login. Because this will be a successful authentication, we should be able to have cookies now. And then we should be on the dashboard. So we can wait. And we can check that we are on the dashboard, I guess. See alternatively, so let's do that. And then we can save whatever cookies we got, the logged in cookies, somewhere. Which, let's see, where do I do it in other projects? Have a credentials file, I guess. I have a credentials file that has all the paths. Wonder why I did like .auth there. Is it because I did something with my git ignore as well? Yeah, I think I made this convention up. But looks like it's it. So we can have a separate file specifying where Playwright is supposed to store all their credentials, all our credentials. So let's just copy this one. This is useful if you have multiple credentials, so multiple roles actually. And yeah, we are hashing the password. Have fun with it. There are lots of nice courses. This one included. I do think you can get into this one without having done the React Foundations, but you can try to get through React Foundations as well. I think lots of interesting things. The way React works has evolved, but it's a good starting place. If it gets too boring, then code along with me going through this course, Next.js.org.learn. And after learning the fundamentals, definitely go with a meta framework. So Next.js, I do think is essential nowadays for React development, not create React app, for example. But most of all, try to have fun with it. So this may seem excessive credentials file with just one thing, but it is useful if you have multiple user roles. And you may have an admin role, a guest user role, all sorts of different roles. Now we just have the logged in user role. So it may feel like over engineering, but then you can copy paste the same file in every one of your projects and only use the separate roles if needed. If I'm going to make a React course in the future, probably I'll make a SvelteKit course first. So next episode should be going through the same Next.js Learn course, but adapted for SvelteKit. Because I do think there are some philosophies that are going to be interesting to see how they've converged together between SvelteKit and Next.js, and a few differences that will again be interesting to discuss why the approach here is a bit different in SvelteKit than Next.js. And very often it's not going to be this one is better and this one wins, although there are going to be a few where I'll be like, oh, I prefer how SvelteKit does this, I prefer how Next.js does that. I do think overall there are more React courses nowadays, including Joss's. So if you don't know this resource, Joss, amazing engineer, great designer, does have a kind of expensive course here, but I'm sure it's worth it, the joy of React one. You can have a look at Joss's blog post and get a glimpse on his writing style. Very, very good. Definitely have a look at some of the blog posts. And one more question, what do I think about Bun? Bun is great, especially for React projects. I really like how I can use the Bun test runner instead of setting up Jest. Too much config for Jest nowadays. I can just use Bun and have my unit tests run fast. For SvelteKit, where you have Vitest already, it's not that big a difference. I do like that Bun gets the .env imports and the .env.local imports by itself, by magic, without me needing to bring in something like .env flow. And I do like that it's fast. But as we've seen in this episode, I do think it may have had something to do with bcrypt not working. So there are a few differences between the other package managers that make it sometimes help you shoot yourself in the foot. I guess you need to add something as a trusted dependency, which is good overall. A third-party library that has an executable with Bun, you need to specify, I want Supabase to be a trusted dependency so I can use the CLI. It's good for security, but it will catch people off guard, and then they just use npm install Supabase and they have the executable available. And worse for security, but good for DevX, unless the security catches you for some reason. Unless Supabase, I guess, decides that they'll want to mine crypto and they make their executable mine crypto on your machine. Quick thoughts on Bun and React courses. But login step, end-to-end testing. We need to specify where to store our credentials. If we've done this correctly, the auth file should be whatever we have in this file. And then the setup should be working. So let's try to specify that we want the auth setup to run before everything. And the way we do that is we go back to the Playwright config and we add another project, the setup project, which finds any setup file, which we have just the one, and runs it. And we're going to say that for every one of our other projects, the ones that actually run the browsers, you need to run the setup step first. Setup project. So now let's see if we managed to do the auth stuff correctly. Looks like we did. Great. And you can see, we should be able to see that we now have a Playwright auth directory which has all the cookies that the login process makes us go through, which is awesome. So we have proven that we can go through the login flow, that Playwright can go through the login flow. But why that is exciting, it is because interesting. So now they say test start already authenticated because we specified stored state in the config. All right, so every test starts with this file that we've created, but I don't want that because we want to also test that regular guest users, people just going to the site, are able to see the marketing page and the login page. So now, in our navigation smoke test becomes like guest navigation smoke test, and for the user smoke test, then actually when we go to this page, well, we can just start on the dashboard, that's fine. And then the heading should be dashboard. And then we'll see what we're going to do next. But the thing is, we need to use these credentials that we've specified. And the way we do that is by nesting everything in a describe block. And we're going to use some storage state, the logged in user one. We just specify the path. And we can put this in here. And now if we try to run this test, or we can try to run all the tests. There's one in the chat, I like the test too. And now, thanks for asking the questions. Please keep asking more. Seems like it works. So if we hadn't done all of the authorization stuff, then we should see that for the authorized user, we get failures. And of course we do, because if you're not authorized, you get redirected back to the homepage. Well, you get redirected back to login. But now that we're able to say, okay, use the logged in credentials, you can actually make it to the dashboard, and we can keep going with the navigation smoke test. And another thing with testing against a mobile device is that we ensure that even these icons are accessible. If they weren't accessible, if they didn't have labels or titles or whatever they have, then we won't be able to click them. So let's see if they actually are accessible. So here we can say navigate to the login page. We can say navigate to the invoices. So we need to find an invoices link, and then we should have a title for invoice, and the heading should be invoices. Will that work? I'm not sure. Now in chat, what's the use of promises? Well, promises is what you use to make your partner happy. But in JavaScript land, some things don't happen immediately. Some things take time to resolve, take time to happen. And for that, you use promises, because JavaScript is single-threaded. You won't necessarily want to wait for something to resolve. So if you need to hash a password, that takes a while. If you need to fetch database records, that takes a while. You won't want the user to click a button and then be stuck there, not able to interact or see anything else, because you're waiting for that long-running task to complete. And the way JavaScript has now kind of solved this is with use of promises, where you can just say, all right, start this, and eventually I promise it's going to result in something. But for now, you can keep going and move on with your life and allow the user to do different things and allow other things to keep happening in the page. And then eventually you'll get a result back. But promises are definitely something that I should have like a go-to line to explain, but maybe that was good enough. Some things are not instant, so you need to choose whether you want to wait for them to complete or not. If you didn't have that choice, then you'd have a very slow feeling app, a responsive app on moments, a blocked app. So it looks like we managed to click the invoices button. Let's see if we can also make it to the customers, I'd imagine. Maybe no heading for customers. It's saying that it's hidden, interestingly enough. So if we go here, it's saying that this is hidden. Maybe that's a good time to see the test results. So we have asked Playwright, whenever it fails, to capture a video for us. And this is the video. You can see it quickly goes through each one of those. Apparently my promise explanation was good. Thank you very much. But it's saying that the customers page is hidden. So let's see what we have there. Oh yeah, just a p tag. So no heading there. And of course, like you'd see that, oh, you don't really have a customers page here. There's something funky. So let's just copy whatever we have, this page. So now, if we run this again, I think we should get successes. We will not, because I'm saying invoices instead of customers. Whoops. The problems with copy and pasting, but the beauty of testing. Right, and we could have like the thing where we confirm we can log out, but I'm not that thrilled about that spec. There are other things we could be doing. Confirm we can go to the edit invoice page, confirm we can actually edit an invoice, like going into those fields, but then that's not really a smoke test. That's like a functionality test. That'd be a separate file where I'd be saying check all of the invoices flow and that sort of thing. And it brings in other concerns. So there are people who test in production. So in live production, they may have like a test user account, and then they actually create records and delete records as part of the test in production, which has its pros and cons. Definitely not a silver bullet to that. Lots of people are scared to do that, and it needs a lot of thought. There is another way where you can spin up a Docker container, a Dockerized version of your app and your database, just a database just for your tests, and then in isolation be able to run the functionality tests in there. Not the easiest thing to resolve, but I do think when we do get to the point where we do use end-to-end tests with confidence, they're fast enough and most of all dependable, they're not flaky. Every time if they fail, you know something went wrong, then we will be developing apps with much greater speed and confidence. But that's how to do that when it comes to mutations, like how to test mutations with end-to-end tests. I leave that for another live stream. I think that's most of what I wanted to show with Playwright. I won't be showing component testing or screenshot testing or something like that. And let's see, does it work against every browser? And if it works against mobile Safari, it will work everywhere. But maybe it doesn't. Interesting. So it looks like this is going to fail. And if it's going to fail, it's because of the thing we're talking about, that our website is not accessible on mobile because these things don't have labels. So if you're using a screen reader on your mobile, if you're having your Safari browser speak out all the links, it won't be able to speak this one out. On mobile, we cannot find the invoices thing. And that's very easy to miss if you're a developer, because very often you just see those icons and then click around and you'd be like, oh, the navigation is fine, failing to account for users that may not be able to do that as easily. But we can fix it. So we need to find the side nav, which is not a side nav in this case. It's a top nav. Let's find where this icon lives. I guess it's going to be on the nav links here. So, right, the label for the icons is hidden on smaller displays, only appears on MD screen sizes. But what happens with their labels? They don't have any, so not good. And the icon is this. Can we pass a prop to this? Maybe? I think we can. We pass the title. Does that make it accessible? Let's find out. Guess the answer is going to be no. So yeah, it does have a title here, and still the screen reader is not able to find it. So what we can do is give it an area label. No need to give it a title, just give it an area label. And this one should work, and indeed it does. So on mobile, on smaller displays, you can see that now it says on a MD large display, they'll say home invoices customers. But the moment we go to the smallest breakpoints, that label disappears. But if we add an ARIA label to the link, then that's going to be accessible again. And if you're using a screen reader or similar, it is going to tell you that this link gets you there, an anchor to there. It's not going to do that. It wasn't going to do that before because this P element was hidden, but on empty resolutions larger, the label for an anchor is whatever text is inside. So that did count. So there you go, proof that the end-to-end tests can increase your accessibility besides your confidence in what you're deploying. Sweet. All right, final Playwright step. Let's deploy. Let's have an action that runs on deployment. So we did ask our thing, the bcrypt, the wizard, the Playwright wizard, to create a GitHub action for us. But we're going to send a few things. Usually, people run these on pushes to the main branch and on pull requests against the main branch. But here's what I've been doing recently. I've been running them against deployments because then that's maximum confidence. Again, if you run it against a deployment, then you'd need to make some trickery where that deployment talks to the test database and not in the production database. In case you're doing tests that do mutate records, you don't. Anyway, the big subject. But what I've been doing is test against the deployments, and the way you can do that. There used to be like a Vercel action that I've used in the past. But there's surprisingly little documentation on doing this very important thing. So apparently, GitHub does have the deployment status event. So instead of saying on a push to the main branch or a pull request against the main branch, you can say on the deployment status event. So every time your app gets deployed, then this action is going to trigger. But that includes when deployment is like pending or has failed to happen. So what we need is a check to see whether the deployment status state is success. So when we've successfully deployed is when we want to run our end-to-end tests against that deployment. And this event is going to work so long as you have some deployment solution integrated with GitHub. If you've integrated Vercel with GitHub, then this is going to happen every time Vercel deploys your project, which it couldn't do for my projects yesterday because they were down, but that's very rare. Hopefully it won't happen again in the future. When Vercel does the deployment, it will dispense this deployment status success event, and we can run this. Also, we can use checkout v4 because that's the latest version of checkout, which checks out the whole of our project. And we can actually use ban for this instead of a regular alt node. Then we're going to install the dependencies with ban install. Then we're going to install the Playwright browsers with banx Playwright install with deps. And then we're gonna run the tests with ban run test, our test script. This could be like ban test end-to-end if that's the name of your script. We have this on our package JSON. What's missing is, well, let's go over this after this. If there are any upload artifacts, so if there is a test failure, remember Playwright is gonna keep a video for us, and we can specify that's what we want uploaded. So by default, they're saying just upload the report if you're using like HTML reports and you can see it nicely, but I don't care about that. I just want to see the videos. If there is a failure, I go to the video and check it out and see what went wrong. So what I want to upload if there is a failure is the test results directory, which will be created because we retain videos on failures. So that takes care of that, but how do we actually make this thing work against the deployment? We need to amend our Playwright config one more time. So here, where we're saying that our base URL is localhost 3000, we actually want to check whether we are on the CI or not, or whether this exists. I guess that makes sense. And let's call it next public, because next does make these things available if you prefix them with next public, and maybe you want the root URL available in your project. For example, on the metadata tab there, they told us to make the metadata base be this, but you could make the metadata base be whatever the next public root URL is, which sometimes it's the Vercel deployment URL, but sometimes not. You get to decide what it should be. In any case, we want to look into that, but the way this will get passed in this project is by passing in an environment variable. So in that step, we want to say you pass in an environment variable env, and we want to pass, we called it next public root URL, to be the GitHub event deployment status also has a target URL for successful deployments. Hey Andrew, nice to see you here. So we're gonna be testing against that. And for debugging purposes, I do like having this part of the description of the test. So we can say against this, so you can see if the action goes wrong, you can double check that it ran against a successful deployment and you passed this in correctly. And that's about it. So if we save everything, I guess let's do another test run just to see that locally things still work. Looks like they do. Add it to E3 navigation smoke tests and sync those changes and see what happens. Should have done a pull request against this. We may need to do this in the future. But Vercel is going to deploy this. Hopefully it's going to succeed. And if it does succeed, then our Playwright Action is going to kick in and check that all the things we've been checking locally actually work against the deployment. And then we can talk about the Playwright. Hey Andrew, I love the use of emojis there. How are you doing? Hope you're having a lovely Friday. Perfect time for chat as well while Vercel is building. So the thing with our test user is that it's using the 123456 password, which it's not ideal. You want it to be secret, so if you live stream or if you have an open source project and people are able to see what you're using there, they're not able to go to your app and then delete your invoices and your users and do all sorts of naughty stuff. So we may have a look at how we can resolve this in the future. All right, deployment complete. Playwright tests are running, so far so good. The thing that takes the most is the Playwright install. But we can already see that it is gonna test against the deployment, which is good. That's what we want. So it seems like we did manage to configure things and pass things in correctly. So after 2000 years, when Playwright browsers are installed, we get to the Playwright tests. 7 tests with 1 worker. More than 1 shot, more than 1 opportunity. We give them like 2 or 3 retries, just in case, like not like you don't want flaky tests, but sometimes you may have some troubles with network connections and stuff. So all green, everything worked. Nothing to upload because nothing fails, so no captured videos. But that's it. We're deploying with confidence. So both of those done. Quite nice. And I guess the thing is that we can go to our seed script. Maybe we will leave it for the end, but clearly we're creating a user here, and our test users, it's like this person, which has this password, and we can have like a different UUID. Definitely don't copy paste your UUIDs from the internet. That's kind of crazy, but hey. So here we could actually use like an environment variable. Which we would be passing in afterwards. So we see the Playwright user and we would be using this environment variable in the test. So in our auth setup, guess we're just doing it, aren't we? So here we'd be doing process and Playwright test there, or what did I call it? I already forgot. So we called it Playwright user password. So here we'd say use this or 3, 4, 5, 6 for the fun of it. And we want to fill in Playwright at example.com. And then they should be able to log in just the same. But we also want to pass this in as an environment variable. And that one is going to be part of our secrets. Let's say guess it's going to be just secrets dot Playwright user password, which we are told doesn't exist. So I guess I can just generate a new password that I'm gonna forget. Maybe I'm just overcomplicating things. I am gonna go into this other window to open my .env file and add Playwright user password, and then just hit some random keys. And that should be good enough. And then we can go to GitHub. On our project settings, there is a secrets and variables section. Now we want to add a new repository secret. And we want it to be whatever I masked on my keyboard before. And it's gonna be Playwright user secret, I guess. Playwright user password. So we're gonna add this secret. It's gonna be available for our Github Action. And now let's try reseeding stringy brands. So once again, we're gonna go to the Vercel Postgres dashboard. I'm gonna drop some tables. It's been years since I've dropped this many tables. Cool. And we're gonna go to the terminal and reseed again. And in this case, we should have 2 users. Indeed, we're seeding 2 users. So now you can see we do have 2 users and we do have Playwright in there, and the password is hashed. It's not like 1 2 3 4 5 6, which was for the other person. So it's all looking good, to be honest. So we've amended our action, we've amended our seed script, and we've amended our test. Let's see if the tests still run. Amazing. So we have a secret password for the Playwright test user. We're gonna post this. Can make a pull request. Vercel is gonna deploy this anyway. Once Vercel finishes deploying, then Playwright is gonna attempt to do its thing. And then we can do analytics. All right, so momentarily it's like all actions are done, but then it's like, oh no, Playwright wants to run as well. And if you have tests, I think then well done, you've made it to production properly. I think that's enough, but we're gonna try to add Vercel analytics as well, because that's really one last thing that a real production app is gonna need. So we are going full Vercel for this project. So we're going to use Vercel's analytics thingy. are demanding we only get one, and I am going to use it for this project. No quickies, privacy friendly. They're saying it again. Cool. 1 month of so this is the upsell. Fair enough. They're telling us exactly what to do here. For my site, which is also Next.js 14 and others, I usually use plausible analytics here, which is also a privacy-friendly alternative to Google Analytics. And yeah, the price of privacy is not that much. I think it's worth it. But the question is, did our thing with the GitHub Action work? Looks like it did. Amazing. So Playwright now can log in with a secure password, and people can't be naughty with the passwords in the stream. I guess we still have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 user. I may need to delete them eventually. But hey. Until then, we have indeed done the Playwright end-to-end action right against our Playwright deployment. I use the ninja emoji as well, as inspired by the chat. And then analytics. All right, we're already into it. We need to bring in this packets. Installed. Then we need to visit this URL. We've enabled web analytics. We've brought in these packets, and it's saying that in our core layout, we just need to render an analytics child. So layout here, bring in this. Put in this, and then we just deploy to Vercel, and it's just gonna work. I think that's gonna be it. They do have a section on custom events, so if you've managed to sign up, like I guess not for successful logins, like if you want to see active users, like, there are some things you can do. You can just bring in this track helper method and say that when they've made it to the dashboard, they've made it to the dashboard. There are other ways. You can just check the URLs for this, but I'm sure there are places where you do want to check custom events, and lots of companies have goals based on events like this. So it's quite nice that they do have this too. But I do think this will accomplish adding analytics. It was bang, bang, bang. And with plausible and other things, it's also kind of like almost as easy to do. This was super easy. I really like it. And Vercel also gives you one for free for the real user experience analytics. So you can see the new site in Next.js 14 or my personal website. It was saying real user experience score. It's like 100, and I was happy. I was gonna flaunt it. I was gonna say how awesome we are. But I click in here and select the detail. It's actually only 84. Like it's dropped 39 points. So the cool thing with this score is that it depends on the pages that people go to and the devices that they're hitting them with. So if your users do have weird devices or old devices and it takes too long for them to load, you will see it here. You'll see the real users going to your site and how you're scoring against Core Web Vitals and more, including the new Core Web Vital in a few months, Interaction to Next Paint, which is quite cool. But yeah, that's neat. And you can see like how you're trending on these. I did add the blur up images, so maybe that's what made it work a bit less. So we'll see. And yeah, again, the cool thing with this, it's not that I'm running a test suite in my machine, which is kitted out and checking how my site looks. It is real users visiting your site and then Vercel collecting some analytics from them. It's quite cool. Right. Deploy changes and visit your site. Oh, it knows. I haven't deployed them, so I guess they only track it when they make it to the main site. And I haven't synced the changes, so we'll hit them later. That's all right. What else did we say we'll do today? SVGs as React components. This may be the last one. So what I want is a spinner in every button that gets submitted, like in the invoices. When we edit an invoice or create a new one, I want a little spinner to show. And that's surprisingly hard with Next.js. You can bring in SVG the lame way, where you cannot change the color as a regular image, but that's missing the point. What I want to do is what was popularized with Create React App, where you can bring in SVGs as React components. And the way I'm doing it now is by using just SVGR. So not SVGR webpack. We're not going to be using webpack for this one, which is quite cool. We're just going to use the CLI of SVGR. So where do we have the submit button? Here. Okay, let's say in the UI we have an icons directory. And let's go to Tailwind. Look at the spin animation. That's what we want. We want the button to stay in there, but so loading or processing, but have this spinner. So we can steal this SVG and then we are like good to go. But this, well, this actually has like a ton of things. So let's say that this has no classes. I guess it can keep these Tailwind classes. Yeah, I've seen better spinners in my lifetime. What spinner do I usually use? Get another one. Sam Herbert has awesome spinners. You can see them open source and free in this project. We're going for this one here. Let's add it to our button. And then we don't need to add any extra classes. But sometimes you have these downloaded from Figma. They have like some extra parameters you don't need, some strokes that are like different colors than the one you use. You just want to use current color, so it's easier to make them change color when you hover, that sort of thing. But the problem is I cannot really import this SVG. So if I go to the submit button, what I want to do is to import spinner from UI icons spinner SVG and then render it here. Let's say if we're pending, if it's in the status pending, then I want to show the spinner, but I'll do it the other way around. Just so it will be visible now. Hey Harry, how are you doing? So let's say if we're not pending, we want to see this. But of course this fails because spinner is not a React component. It's just a string, I guess, at this point. What is spinner? it's something bad. I demand that this is an object in the end, but that's not what I want. I want to bring in a React component and be able to render it like this and pass in classes and do all of that. So we'll do that by bringing in the SVGR CLI. So let's get it. And we won't bother with a webpack loader, because what if you use TurboPack? What if this changes? Hey Harry, can you join along with me on this? Yeah, for sure. Like the Next.js Learn course has been good. Oh, it seems like it has deployed the analytics already, so we did actually do it. And I guess people have been hitting this page. Besides, one of them, I guess, would be the test user Playwright. Ah, right. It's Playwright for all three, for Safari, Chrome, and Firefox, interestingly enough. So you can do some things where it won't count some users, but that's by the by. Hopefully your app will have enough users where it doesn't matter that you run the end-to-end test. It's not going to make a difference. So that's cool. That's cool indeed. But let's see. To get done with the command line, we can run install dev dependency SVGR CLI. And then what I actually do is run the SVGR CLI to transform a library of files. So let's see what I'm doing in another project. Hashtag first node. See what we got here. Have a generate SVGR thing. I'm saying I don't want an index file because I don't like index files. Lots of people like it. Search my source directory for any SVGs. Output in the source directory. You could output them in a generated folder, but I think that's fine. And then I'm also saying run prettier, because there is a prettier option for SVGR, but it doesn't work at the moment with TypeScript. In any case, let's copy this package. Script. Let's say generate. I'm not gonna run prettier for now. See what happens. Don't index out there. So the out there should be the source directory, and look into our source directory. You'd also have a dedicated directory for your SVGs that you want to turn into React components, which should be most of them, but maybe you're using some for background. So run generate. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it can't handle this, interestingly enough, which may be because of the prettier problem that I mentioned. So let's see. We can have a SVGO config file. And an SVGR config, I think. SVGR RC. For the SVGO config, SVGO is SVG optimized. It will remove things that maybe Figma is going to be adding in here in your SVGs. It's going to remove it. It's going to make them optimized. And what I do like is to remove width and height attributes and just keep a view box, or derive a view box from width and height attributes. So just prefer doing that. I do like to specify the multipass because it does a better job with the optimization feature. And then in the .svgr rc, I am saying use TypeScript and replace attribute values. Again, if you download from Figma something that the designer has done, or even if you download the material icon. something like that. Usually everything will be black, so hex code black, blank, or literally black. And then you can transform that into the current color, which would make your component, your icon, absorb the font color for that section. So immediately it will look better. I think this is a great time saver. Harry asks, can't we just import the SVG Next.js 14 as previously used to do? So yeah, you can import the SVG. So let's actually try to do this. Let's say import the spinner SVG from there, and we can use the image component from next image and say that I want the source to be the spinner. And then the Auth can be loading. And then we have successfully imported the SVG, but that's the lame way to import SVGs, because now we've imported it as an image and we're losing the benefit of being able to change its color, for example, and be able to scale it infinitely after we've imported it. So Next.js wizard also starts with an imported SVG with their next image component, and it works, but it doesn't optimize the SVG, and you can't change the color afterwards because it's imported as an image at that point. So you can see that it's an image tag that has the source of this SVG, which you can't do much about. So for example, like these icons, you can see when I hover, they change color. If we were importing them as images, then we wouldn't be able to change their color, because for a raster image, you cannot change the color like that. But with an SVG, it's trivial to change the color. And indeed, we can say text purple. So now if I try to make this light purple, it's not gonna work. However, specifying the width is gonna work just fine. Just after the fact, it may look a bit funky. So instead of next image and having the SVG be the source of the next image, I want to bring it in as a React component. And Next.js does know this, the team at Next.js does know this, and they are specifying specifically in their type definitions that for SVG, they're just saying that the content is any to avoid any conflicts with SVGR Webpack. So they know people are going to be using SVGR to bring in their SVGs instead of their own solution, which can work in a pinch, but is not what you'd really want to use. So does our CLI tool actually work? It does. It looks like prettier is still the problem. They'll need to fix this bug. And what it's done is it's found our spinner SVG and created a spinner TSX icon. The other benefit is that the type definition for .svg is like any SVG has content any, and you can kind of type this to be a bit more specific and say it's an SVG component. But it won't be able to tell you if you went to a file that doesn't exist. Because as far as TypeScript is concerned, you've told it that any .svg is valid. There will always be something. And TypeScript will not know that there's nothing there because you've told it that anything results as something that has content. Well, now that we actually have a React component, we can get some nice autocomplete SVG spinner, this, and we can just say use this. And it's my ID is going to do the work for me, import it from the right place. And if I actually give it some width, and it's going to appear, and it's going to have the color of the text that used to be there already. And if I wanted to do like cool things on hover, I can do that because it's an SVG. I can change its color. So you can see it's white already, but let's make it purple. But even after it's loaded, you can change the color because it's not an image anymore. If we do in fact check, we'll see that our button inside has an SVG. It's really an SVG. And yeah, we don't have to mess with a webpack config. We don't have to mess with a webpack config that should also work for TurboPack, because at some point TurboPack is going to replace webpack for Next.js. You just need to run this command, and it will find all your spinners, all your SVG files, and create TypeScript components that you can even look into and see what they look like. But you should never touch, because then you're going to run the command again and it's going to overwrite them. So there are some options you could add. That's why maybe you should add them in like a /generated directory to make it more obvious that this is generated content. Like no human should touch this. They should only use it externally, or add like a .generated prefix. But that's beside the point for now. I just wanted to show this quickly. And the whole point of this was that earlier we extracted some logic to make a submit button that we use in many places. So now this button, everywhere we use it, will magically be able to show a spinner when you're submitting the form. So if we change this amount to 85, it's gonna be loading for a while, and then we're out. And we're also using the same thing for this. So we can add to Steven a pending invoice of 1 to 3, create the invoice, bam, we get the loading spinner there. So change in one place and everything is cool. All right, we've done the SVGR, so let's give in to null and center align the header. So we've done this. I don't think we'll do database with Prisma in this. We'll keep doing the Tarzan style SQL statements by ourselves. But let's see, where do we use the Acme icon? We do use it here for sure. This link. All right, so I think it's that justify center that does it. So we can say that for empty and larger, justify start, but justify center for mobile. So there you go. When we're on mobile, Acme in the center aligned, like everything should be on mobile. And then when you switch to the side, it goes to the left, which is in line with the rest of the nav. Do think it looks nicer. Hope you like as well. So what did we do? Like mobile first, like Tailwind CSS is, we specified justify sender, we're inside a flex container. But for the empty breakpoint and larger, we go back to justify start. And let's add everything besides this as a feature. And this one, center logo on mobile. Cool. And I think that's it. Like the final bonus would be using RDB with Prisma, but that would take quite a while. So I think I'm gonna call it a stream. I may literally ask for questions just to see this. Never used I've used the polling feature in YouTube Live. I haven't used the QA. Looks like it clears the chat. But yeah, and let me know if you do want me to go through with the DB with Prisma. I do have all the links ready for us to dive deeper if needed. But let me push this as well. Prisma is an ORM. We can run our database migrations with it, and most importantly, it will prepare the SQL statements for us and will let us know if we're trying to access tables that do not exist, or columns that do not exist, or we're trying to do invalid inserts, that sort of thing. So you should use an ORM or equivalent when you're working with databases in production. Now, for most projects, new projects, I do like Supabase because it's great with Lambda-based, edge-based deployments, serverless functions, like what you do with Next.js and Vercel. While Prisma is now slowly adding the drivers to work well with that sort of environment. But if you're not in the Supabase ecosystem or similar, Prisma is great to connect to any database. They definitely support Postgres, and they support a few others as well. And the SQL statements, we do have them for our seed script. But also in many places in our app, we're just using the SQL driver from Vercel Postgres. And that statement to just get all the revenue is fine, but this one for the latest invoices, for example, you know, you can go to whatever you're using to interface with your database. And just like test your query there and then see if it works. And then you paste it in here. But yeah, serverless, but still running on servers. The joke that I saw is like Next.js, Vercel is telling us, you know, go on the cloud, use serverless, the best serverless platform. And then their latest conference was like full of these things where it says, use server? What's happening here? I thought you told me to go serverless. Like, what's this about? Which I did find quite funny. But I guess it's now a term that kind of means something else, like the cloud used to be. It's not literally on clouds. It's always servers somewhere, and probably underground as well. But for Vercel themselves, like the kings of serverless deployments, to have such a use server-focused conference was a delight, for sure. So Prisma. Should we just do it? Maybe start and see where we go. We did deploy something. Let's see if that's passing. Yeah, it's passing. It's just merged it. Computers in the cloud would be a real sight. So yeah, I think I do have a bit of steam left over. So I may try to get Prisma going. Let's see. Why are they saying to use this as a dev dependency? Interesting. Immediately, I'm gonna sidestep the instructions and install it as a regular dependency. Branches. And then, I guess Banex init is not gonna work because I didn't add it as a trusted dependency. Classic. Oh, actually worked. So let's Banex init. Set the database URL to point to your existing database. Schema Prisma. Let's see. We do want Postgres here. Oh, this Postgres. Cool. And I guess I need to go to a few different windows here. I need to go back here. And then go to the Prisma section. Will that be just set for us? Maybe. If that's the case, I don't need to hide anything. If that's the case, I have nothing to hide. Just find that like extremely unlikely. I can't imagine that this is added. Maybe here. All right. So they did add these. I did copy them. So just in case they've added all the environment variables you may ever need in the .env file. Cool. I do have a .env.local. So I'll copy it there. As well. Because maybe Prisma only looks at .env and not .env.local. But yeah, that should be fine then. we'll find that soon enough. Because I can only imagine the next step would be to actually connect there. Question by Harry. Do you know about Node, Wes? What do you think about it? Let's see. Oh, I think I only noted as a joke in that I must have made a joke at some point where it's going to be like, I'll have a full JavaScript task. It's going to be operating system Node, editor Node, what I code Node, JavaScript. But I haven't actually used it. I don't know. I do think that it's cool to have like to be able to run scripts that you'd usually write in Bash with JavaScript. It's just much easier to read and write in, for me at least. But I can see lots of people getting really angry with something like this. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun project. What do you think about it? All right, so all about the secrets here, all about the connection URLs, all about that. Now we're gonna try to introspect. And let's see if that works. Hasn't failed for us yet. Cool. So it has added our customers table, our invoices table, revenue table, users table. Great. I guess the thing is that it hasn't cased them correctly. If they did have a GitHub link in Node.js that you could click to, I would be there. Like, why not? Contribute to an operating system. Don't get to do that every day. So I guess we can say model customers, model invoices, model revenue, and model users. And we want to say that customer ID is our lesson, like this. I'm trying hard to copy, but it's hard to see. Maybe that's not actually a user. Yeah, because customers may not be users. It's a customer. Sure. So customer, lowercase, the reference is customer. Ooh, and the models are singular. No, the tables are plural. And the field is customer ID. And the reference is ID on update. Looks correct, I guess. And I think that's the only relation we have. Like customers have invoices. Invoices belong to customers. Maybe correct. Users don't have customers or revenue or anything. Different things. All right. And conversely, I guess we need to do the opposite thing, where customers have invoices. Sure. this one, invoice lowercase, invoice, like this. Invoices, I guess I should say, because user has posts. All right, I think that's what Prisma wants from me. Right, baseline my database. Let's cursorily create this directory for the migrations. Can users be of type customers? I think it's a different thing. I think that have separate records, that have a customer profile and a user profile, two different things. So let's diff the database like they want us to do. First, we create a directory for the initial migration. And then we're gonna run this huge script. So apparently it's gonna run the Prisma again, migrate from empty to this schema which we created, and then the output is gonna be inside the directory we just specified. It looks like it worked. Let's see the SQL it generated. So in order to get this database done, we've got these things going for us, I suppose. We could run it again. For example, something I didn't like in the app is that this date field doesn't default to now, the current type, the current time, which we could do with Prisma. You can see that the default is now, like for created at, and we could do the same. With the DB timestamp helper. But I guess that's a migration that we'd need to add later, I suppose, because now in the database this doesn't default. So I wonder what will happen if I do say that I want this to default to a date. Not sure. And then the migration is applied. Sure. And I guess this has added like a secret migrations table. Maybe not in the public schema. Ah, no, it is in the public schema. So here we can actually see that it says that we've applied this migration in the production database, which is cool. Good so far. Now we want to install the Prisma client. I guess that's why they wanted me to install the other thing as a dev dependency. Regular Prisma. They had their reasons. Originally, I'm from Greece. I'm from an island in Greece called Paros, which is close to Mykonos, which is the party island. And more people know of Mykonos, but I love Paros. spent many years in the UK, and I'm currently in Barcelona, back to the Mediterranean. So now we want Prisma to do its magic and generate all the TypeScript types for us. Oh, and saying you can do this for the regular client, all this when you're at the edge. Awesome. But I'm not gonna do either. I remember they have like a Next.js example, because Next.js can be tricky. They suggest creating a singleton. I remember having investigations about this, but this isn't the one I was thinking of. This is the one I was thinking about. So best practice to instantiate the client. Let's see what they want us to do next. We want to create a database. Great. So they want us to create the client. Let's say anything for Next.js. No. So instead of creating the client like they're saying here, we're going to use the best practice for creating Prisma, the Prisma client. So on our lib directory, source lib, let's create prisma.ts, paste all of this in. We have a method that creates a Prisma client, which is a bit different to how I usually sing this, because that's not actually like the singleton. This is like a factory. This is creating the client. Anyway, then they're typing the global this object, which you may not have seen before, but effectively it's the same as the global object which you may have used, and it used to be bad practice to just put things in a global object because everyone was doing it. But anyway, they're saying doing it here. If there is a Prisma client in here, then do nothing. The Prisma export is going to be the global Prisma, or else instantiate the Prisma client. And but only if we're not in production we're doing this. So this is just to help with development errors, where every time we hot reload it was creating another client. I think it's the problem they're trying to solve here. But after we've done that, then we can query everything as we want. So let's try to query something. Guess we happen to be in the invoices page. So latest invoices here, fetch latest invoices. We're saying no store, never cast this for some reason. And instead of this crazy SQL, let's see if we can do it with Prisma. And how will we do that? Let's bring in the client. I don't want to create a user. Guess you can do post. All right, so invoice, find many. I guess is what they want. And what do we specify here? Then we can bring in the customers, I guess, because that's the join they're doing. So include customer true. Indeed, GitHub Copilot knows. And we also want to order. So I want some point. See the API. Like, how do I order? Like, is it part of that weird object? So in here, we want an order by clause. And we want to do date descendant, indeed. And what else do we want? Yeah, there is no where clause. Ah, limit. So is it just limit 5? Find how many? I'm just gonna guess it's a parameter here. Nope. Is it here? Nope. How do you do limit? Surely. It should be part of find many, I guess. Take 5. So I think we've done everything, but we haven't specified which fields to include. You were in Greece to see someone. Where did you go? So select should be a thing. We want amount. Is that how it works? Do we have an example? Does it not like it because I don't say customer? Ah, either select or include. So we want amount, true. Doesn't like that one either. Ah, nested here. Okay. So select customer true, amount true. But customer should be an object. Name true. No? We should nest another select here. Harder than I thought. Okay, so select name true. Image URL true. Email true. And the ID of the invoice. but not the status. Invoices amount, customer name, customer image URL, email, and the ID. It says join there, order by date, limit 5. I think we've done the same thing. Maybe these are cards there. Maybe we don't even need this many. Oh, and we want to format the currency. So we can just call this latest invoices. Oh, sorry. So const invoices is this. If we await it, and then we can just return this with the amount formatted, and then this row SQL we never do, but we just use the latest invoices here. If we were to return an empty array here, All right, so this errored out. Great. Great. So it was on the main dashboard, this whole thing. And the error is code B2021. Table public invoice does not exist in the current database. Well, sure, because it's actually named invoices. But how do I change the name? I guess I need to do this. Yeah, it's trying to create very different tables. After all, we may need to redo this. So we needed to map things. So map this to customers and map this to invoices and map to revenue. Sure. And map to user. Because the migration trying to create uppercase tables. Interestingly enough. So let's forget this migration ever happened. Let's delete this migration table even. And let's baseline our database again. And review our migration a bit harder. So this one creates a customers table, invoices table, revenue, and it should be users, surely. So delete this, bonk. Try it again. Customers, invoices, revenue, users, sure. That looks more correct. And let's say that we've applied it. And that worked. So after that, maybe we need to generate again. And now this should tell us looks like it should just work. Let's see. It just didn't. Let's try our classic. Deletion of everything, not modules and the like. And generate typings again. And then restart the server. Will we do any better? Yeah, all right, we got it. Seems the images aren't quite correct. I wonder why. Were we like uppercase in image URL before? Everything customer related is different. So I can only imagine that in the front end, are we only using this once? Looks like it. The latest invoices. Ah, right. So they're not nested inside the customer. So all of those things are customer dot. Fixed. I'll put the look here. So this didn't used to work before. Now we have the images back here. And I guess, like instead of a raw SQL statement, we have this thing, which, you know, it's still quite a lot of code, but I guess we have more confidence in what we're writing and what we're getting back. So the avatars and all the customer information is an example of that. TypeScript was able to tell me that there is no invoice.email, there is an invoice.customer.email. While with raw SQL, you have to do the work to type yourself what the result should be. And very often you won't, or you will make a mistake there. All right, so I think that could be enough. We could create a new migration as well, like default to now, like we said. So if we go to the schema and say for an invoice, Not this DB date. You can default to now. So we can say this should create a migration to make the default field of that column there. See how that works. Ooh. This function doesn't exist. We need a create this function if not exists. Let's try it again. No, don't do that. Do they do anything with seeding as well? Maybe that's the last thing to have a look at. So we can seed somehow. Did they give us a seed file? No, I guess we need to create it. Oh, interesting. We can use Prisma to create our people, our users, which is nice. But I think that's where we're gonna call it for today. So we had a look at Prisma, but I don't think we're gonna publish this. Maybe offline I'll have an extra look. We're gonna call it a stream. We did a lot. Third time's a sham. Third time is a charm. We made it through Next Learn. All well and good. It was fun. I guess this is supposed to track our progress, and we've done 100%. We have completed the course. That's amazing. On the next episode, let me know what you'd like to see. If left to my own devices, I've started copying this course into the SvelteKit version of the same course, where we'll try to do the same things, but the SvelteKit way, which sometimes will be similar, sometimes will be the same, sometimes will be different, and it will be fun to discuss the differences especially, but also the similarities. So that's a likely thing we'll be doing next Tuesday. And given we needed 3 episodes for this and I need to actually write this, it's gonna take at least 3 episodes for that one. Maybe 6, maybe double the time. But we'll see. So long as you keep having fun and I keep having fun, we'll keep doing it. You want more Next.js stuff? We can do more Next.js stuff. You want to check out Astro as well? Why not? You want to check out Next? Well, can only do so much. But all these frameworks are great for us developers, because the great ideas pollinate to other frameworks and they get honed and become even better. So no fighting about frameworks, just a lot of enjoyment about frameworks. All right, clearly I've been talking for too long and I'm getting too philosophical. It's been a pleasure to go through the Next.js Learn course. Great job to the team. they do have quite a few issues to resolve, but not as many as the whole Vercel project. So I may be tempted to submit a PR with like some of the spelling mistakes and stuff, because I don't have anything much more meaningful. I think by the time we've done these 3 episodes, they've managed to resolve the problems we had, like the non-existence of favicon and the auth URL that we needed at some point. Those things seems to have made it in. So great job getting this together. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have an amazing Friday and an even better weekend. I'll see you all next week. Bye.